This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The Iraqi parliament called on the ministers and security leaders to conduct an investigation within the next 48 hours into the series of bombings that blasted Baghdad today. 127 people were killed and 450 others wounded in the bombings.
5 bombings took place simultaneously and shook the Iraqi capital of Baghdad. The series of bombings began in the neighborhood of Al-Dora when a suicide attacker targeted a police station located near a school. A number of students in the school were killed and wounded. According to security sources, the suicide bomber carried C4 in his car, a highly explosive material. After that, 4 explosions took place in various neighborhoods in the middle of the capital, Baghdad. Security sources said that a booby-trapped vehicle targeted a U.S. patrol station near the headquarters of the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, which led to heavy damages to the building and a number of deaths and injuries. On one of the roads leading to the Ministry of Interior, a parked car exploded, killing and injuring a large number of people. Another bombing targeted the temporary headquarters of the Ministry of Finance located in Rizafi Square. The ministry moved to this location after its original building was destroyed in August's bloody attacks in Baghdad. This bombing killed and wounded numerous employees of the ministry and led to massive damages to the building. Another attack targeted a complex of courthouses containing a number of government buildings. An art institute is located near the complex in the district of Manzour. The attack left dozens killed and injured. Besides the loss of life, the bombings also cut off the major roads in the capital. Meanwhile, U.S. helicopters have been patrolling heavily in the skies of Baghdad. The bombings took place right after the electoral law passed, refreshing the Iraqis' memory of the Bloody Wednesday bombing. This is a bloody message that the masterminds of the attacks wanted to send to the Iraqi people and government. Tony Mazarani, Al-Arabiya.
The Iraqi President Jalal Talabani announced that the parliamentary elections will take place on March 6, 2010. Talabani considered preparing and passing the electoral law, proof that Iraq has overcome a major hurdle by reaching a consensus.
Even though a majority of political groups lack parliamentary experience in an open and democratic atmosphere, the experience of preparing and passing the electoral law has proved that we have come a long way by reaching a consensus, by reconciling and respecting others' opinions. In addition, we are moving towards communication through national dialogues and understanding, instead of bickering and resorting to violence.
اعتبرت منظمة التحرير الفلسطينية موقف الاتحاد الأوروبي اعتبار مدينة القدس عاصمة لدولة.
The Palestinian Liberation Organization considered the EU's position of making Jerusalem the capital of the two states a step forward. The foreign ministers of EU countries stated earlier that Jerusalem should be the capital of both countries, Israel and a future Palestine, through negotiations between Palestinians and Israelis. The foreign ministers agreed that in order to achieve real peace, an agreement should be reached through negotiations to determine the status of Jerusalem as the future capital of the two states.
طال In a meeting today in Brussels, foreign ministers of EU countries demanded that negotiations start regarding the status of Jerusalem. The meeting discussed the draft proposal submitted by the Swedish government to recognize East Jerusalem as the capital of the future Palestinian state.
ونقلت رويترز عن مصادر دبلوماسية أن وزراء الخارجية اتفقوا في بيان سينشر.
Reuters quoted diplomatic sources as saying the foreign ministers have agreed that in order to achieve real peace, Jerusalem should be the future capital of the two states.
وضع القدس كعاصمة مستقبلية لدولتين.
لا تزعم أوروبا استحداث جديد على موقفها التقليدي المتكرر منذ عقود.
Europe is not showing any development in its decade-old stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, but it finds itself forced to either reconsider diplomatic measures or put words into action. This comes after European citizens who had once closed their eyes to the Middle East have now reopened them only to see the images of killings, settlements, and the collapse of homes one after the other. Images that unveil the behavior of the occupying country, one that is supported by the West in general against the wronged people, whose dream of freedom and self-determination is being smashed. The draft resolution by Sweden proposes that East Jerusalem be the capital of the future Palestinian state. EU foreign ministers discussed the proposal over 2 days of meetings, during which a range of positions were heard. Some of them supported the release of an official statement of the resolution, which is, of course, in compliance with international resolutions and laws. Others tried to lower the requirements of the prisoner swap deal with Israel. Israel discussed the meeting of EU foreign ministers diplomatically, but waged a media campaign in which it attempted to compare dividing Jerusalem to dividing Berlin after World War II. According to international news agencies, Israel secretly and openly warned that taking a position like this will endanger the peace process and exclude European countries from mediating a resolution to the conflict. On the Arab side, Palestinian diplomatic activities pursued the international recognition of the Palestinian border on the occupied territories since 1967. No other official Arab reaction supported or paralleled the European move. It appeared that no one was concerned about Europe settling on its position, either because they were busy with regional, sectarian, or factional conflicts, which matter most to them, or because at least some of them were completely oblivious to what was happening, while still others don't want this conflict to end.
A number of lawyers in London announced the foundation of an organization to capture those who committed war crimes and crimes against humanity. This came during a seminar on the legal approaches to capture Israelis overseas.
Britain has attempted numerous times in the past to arrest Israeli officials accused of committing war crimes against the Palestinians.
Our correspondent in London, Nahani Bashir, followed the announcement by this organization.
This seminar is not limited to discussing the legal aspects for trying Israeli officials overseas, as it was announced in the beginning. The organizers surprised the attendants by announcing the establishment of the Clear Conscience Organization. The organization includes British lawyers who had a prominent role in war crime cases raised against Israeli officials in London. These lawyers are expanding the work range of the organization to include other crimes such as torture.
If we let that legislation become a historic fact, the sad truth is...
If we let the legislation become a historic fact, the sad truth is that what happened in Germany during World War II will repeat itself. Therefore, we as lawyers, even as individuals, should work together to stop the Israelis from bullying the Palestinians.
Representatives from human rights organizations and former ministers in the British government also attended the seminar, which was organized by the Middle East Monitor Center. It appears that the legal approach to capturing war criminals began to take a different route through the efforts of the organizers who have consistent funds to maintain their work. The latest attempt by some lawyers to arrest Israeli Minister of Defense Ehud Barak in London while he was attending the annual conference of the Workers' Party party several months ago failed and resulted in political tumult.
أثناء مشاركته في أعمال مؤتمر حزب العمال السنوي هذا العام.
British government or other governments might try to change.
The British government or other governments might try to change the laws to prevent trying war criminals. This actually happened in Belgium, and maybe it will happen in Spain. There are talks about the possibility of changing the laws in Britain. It's best to be careful when bringing charges against high political officials, and it's preferable to start with the lower-ranking officials.
The level of tumult that the British public experienced during the war on Gaza has increased the number of discussions about the war crimes against the Palestinians. Nahani Bishr, Al Jazeera.
In the studio to discuss that proposal for recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and Palestine is Jerusalem expert Dr. Moshe Amirov, a longtime advocate of dividing Jerusalem between the two peoples, and a man who served as Ehud Barak's advisor on Jerusalem at the Camp David talks. Dr. Amirov, thanks for coming in. Well, let me ask you, are you more Catholic than the Pope? Even the late Prime Minister Rabin stressed numerous times that Jerusalem was and would remain the eternal, undivided capital of Israel and the Jewish people. Now here you come along and want to divide it.
Jerusalem is divided. That's a fact. It's a very divided city. We rule both sides of the city. Now, relating the new proposal of the Swedish government, I think it's the first time in history since 1947 that the international body will recognize our right, our sovereignty over half of Jerusalem, which is something. I mean, if Ben-Gurion would be alive today, he would be delighted. He would be very happy with the fact that the world is starting to recognize our right on Jerusalem. Because right now, as you know, it's only one state who recognizes our sovereignty in Jerusalem, which is Israel.
Wouldn't this be spitting in the face, though, of the men who were killed in June 1967 fighting to free Jerusalem from occupation, 2,000 years of occupation, the Romans, the Christians, the Arab Muslims?
I can say as one who was here, I was a paratrooper, I was wounded, and some of my best friends were killed in Jerusalem. And I don't dare to speak on their behalf, so I don't think anybody has the right to speak on their behalf. But I can say that the dream of all of us soldiers who liberated Jerusalem was that this will be the city of peace. And if any proposition, including this one, the Swedish one, will bring peace to this city, although it will be divided, I will be delighted. I believe my friends in the graves in Mount Herzl will be also delighted.
Do you see that playing out with, for example, a wall being built to separate Eastern Jerusalem, the Arab side, from Western Jerusalem, the Jewish side? How is that going to play out?
As you mentioned, I was in Camp David with Barak. We drew the map of how would be Jerusalem in the future. Nobody, including Palestinians, no one wants a wall in Jerusalem. It will be an open city. Of course, an open city can be only if we have peace with the Palestinians. But if we don't have peace with the Palestinians, I'm against dividing Jerusalem. But if we have peace, if there is a chance for peace, this is going to be the price we have to pay. And this will be an open city. People will be able to go to Temple Mount and pray, not like today with the police, with the problems we have there. It will be a kind of a center, a spiritual center, not only a national thing. So the dream of a city of peace, Ir Shalom, as it is called in the Bible, is my dream.
The residents of refugee camps in Lebanon requested that the Palestinian president meet their humanitarian demands, ranging from civil rights to daily needs, such as ending cuts in water and electricity. Omar Harkous has the report.
A picture of the late Palestinian president Yasser Arafat is hanging at the entrance of the Burj al-Barajni camp. Next to it is a picture of the current Palestinian president Mahmoud Abbas or Abu Mazen. These are the widest streets in the camp. After them, the streets turn into narrow alleys that fit only one person. Water pipes are intermingled with electricity wires, painting a miniature picture of the reality of Palestinian conditions in refugee camps in Lebanon. These difficult conditions have prompted the refugees to demand their president to protect their civil rights to ensure a decent living.
He should help us in the matter of registrations. For example, we're not able to register our apartments.
All we demand is fresh water. We only have salt water. This is the greatest risk to my son. It's terrible to give salt water to a child.
The improvement of living conditions and the care for Palestinian health is crucial.
We want improvements of the roads, the water, and the electricity.
The camp lacks infrastructure and healthcare institutions. The only hospital in the camp has a serious shortage of equipment.
Every time it rains, our house gets inundated.
The hospital needs support.
We can't even work as engineers or doormen.
Our engineers and doctors can't even establish an office to work in. We are deprived of a lot of things in this country.
The Palestinians in the camps hope that Abu Mazen will visit them. They're demanding many things, but they might only receive basic help in a camp that has become overcrowded, just like other Palestinian camps. All of this in the hope of establishing a nation.
The UN Secretary General's envoy to the region, Terry Roed Larsen, arrived in Israel and met with a number of officials. The meetings were focused on the case of the village of Al-Gajja. Israeli media quoted political sources saying that Israel has adopted the draft resolution proposed by UNIFIL forces, in which the Israeli occupation forces will withdraw from the southern parts of the village and UNIFIL forces will replace them. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu considered Hezbollah to be the real Lebanese army, replacing the official Lebanese army as the concrete force armed to the teeth, so to speak. He thinks that the Lebanese government and Hezbollah have merged into each other, and that they will both be held responsible for any aggression against Israel. Netanyahu said that UN Resolution 1701, which was issued after the Second Lebanese War, may have completely failed. In front of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, Netanyahu showed his readiness to resume negotiations with Syria without any preconditions. He said that he prefers them to be conducted without any mediators. He made it clear that if the Syrian side insisted on having indirect negotiations, that he would prefer France to play the mediator's role.
Iran's security forces have temporarily shut down Tehran University Gate after hundreds of students staged protests at the technical faculty. The students protested what they call an illegal presence of non-students at the university's campus on Monday. That was Students' Day. There were reports of brief clashes between groups of students with opposing political views. Calm has been relatively returned to the university, but security forces are still surrounding the campus. On Monday, a key protester was arrested by security forces while he was trying to pass through the university gate while wearing women's clothes and hijab. The detainee had reportedly played a leading role in anti-government riots on the same day. He was among 204 others that the commander of Tehran security forces said were arrested during Monday's protests. General Azizullah Rabjadzadeh said the detainees, who included 39 women, are all accused of disrupting public order. France has condemned what it refers to as unacceptable violence by Iranian authorities against protesters in Tehran. A foreign ministry spokesman says violence against protesters and arbitrary arrests are not acceptable. The U.S. and Britain also voiced concern about clashes between police and rioters in Tehran on Students' Day. Iran, however, rejects the statements. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ramin Mehman Peres says the West is taking the wrong route by making such comments. He advised that any deal on their own internal problems rather than meddling in Iran's internal issues. Iran's prosecutor general has warned of tough actions against those who violate law and order in the country. Ghulam Hossein Mohseni said security and judiciary authorities have been ordered to confront those who violate the law and destroy public and government properties. On Monday, Iranian security forces arrested a number of rioters in Tehran for damaging public property. The rioters attempted to use the Students' Day to stage anti-government rallies. This as university students across Iran were marking the Pahlavi regime's killing of 3 students in a 1953 anti-U.S. rally.
جديد من الاستجوابات ألقي أولها اليوم في وجه الحكومة الكويتية.
A new round of questioning of the Kuwaiti government took place in a closed session. Prime Minister Sheikh Nasser al-Mohammed agreed to be questioned after a request by a parliament member was made on the grounds of financial irregularities taking place in the Prime Minister's office. In addition, the government is accused of misleading Parliament and the people.
وقد حول رئيس مجلس الأمة جاسم الخرافي جلسة المجلس
Parliament Speaker Jasim al-Harafi agreed to make the session private because of a government request, despite the position of some Parliament members, to keep it public. Sheikh Nasser Mohammed al-Sabah will be questioned today, for the first time since he took office in 2006. The Deputy Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, as well as the Ministers of Interior and Labor will also be questioned.
من وزيري الداخلية والتشغيل. ومن الكويت ينضم إلينا عبر
Joining us over the phone is our reporter, Ahmed Al-Unesi. Why did the Prime Minister agree to be questioned for the first time? What does this mean?
This means a great deal to the Kuwaitis. The government and ministers were afraid of being questioned by the parliament. The Kuwaiti people are frustrated. The government has always been worried about this kind of questioning. Now the Prime Minister will be questioned, and he is a prominent figure within the ruling family. The Prime Minister agreed to be questioned. He said he will explain everything he knows. The first session of questioning has ended. They are now taking a break. They will hold a second session afterwards, and the Prime Minister will answer the questions.
For the second time in a row, the Dubai stock market index decreased by more than 6%, while Abu Dhabi's stock market index fell by more than 3%. These plunges came after announcements were made about the possibility of selling some of Dubai World's assets in order to meet international obligations.
The stock market in the Emirate of Dubai is still shaking from the earthquake that started when Dubai World requested last month that its $59 billion debt be rescheduled. For the second time in a row, Dubai's benchmark, DFM index, went down more than 6%, ending the day at 1,600 points. The stock price of the Kiati Construction Company in Dubai lost about 10% of its value, which is the maximum allowed limit per day. This decrease in the stock market was not limited to Dubai. Abu Dhabi's stock market also decreased by 3%, ending the day at 2,500 points.
As you see, all the stocks are in the red. The DFM index went down 106 points. What else can happen? The people's money is gone.
Other stock markets in the Gulf were also affected by the performance of Dubai and Abu Dhabi stock markets. The Saudi and Qatari stock markets were also affected. The Saudi stock market decreased by 2.3%, and the Qatari stock market decreased by 2%. The decrease in Dubai's and Abu Dhabi's stock markets came despite announcements about the possibility of selling some government-owned Dubai World assets to meet its international obligations. Two of Dubai World's property developers, the Nakil and Limitless, will be restructured and their debt rescheduled.
There's no reason for the sharp decrease that started in the morning when the stock market opened. They say that Dubai World is the reason behind the sharp decreases, but I do not think it is the real reason. It seems that some people want the market to go down, and they are seeing that it does.
Financial experts reiterate that the psychological factors drive the market and that they are partially behind this drop. Nasim Ramadan, BBC.
Today, the Egyptian Stock Exchange launched the first annual conference of the Union of Arab Stock Exchanges in Cairo, with the participation of several heads of Arab financial markets and investment banks. On the sidelines of the conference, the Secretary General of the Union of the Arab Stock Exchanges, Dr. Fadi Khalaf, said that the global financial crisis has hit all international stock exchanges hard, including the Arab financial market. Khalaf called for closing financial loopholes and allowing the private sector to act as the auditor of accounts in order to restore investors' confidence in the Arab financial market.
The effects of the global financial meltdown and the Dubai crisis cast their shadow over the first annual conference of the Union of Arab Stock Exchanges underway in Cairo. According to financial experts, the international market has already seen the worst of the financial crisis, saying that 2010 will be a year of financial stability and 2011 a year of economic growth.
All economic indicators and world financial indexes are showing that we have started the process of overcoming this crisis. The Dubai crisis is nothing more than an aftershock of the larger global financial crisis. The effects will be limited to the region.
وما بين الفرص والتحديات التي تواجه أسواق المال العربية.
On the first day of the Arab Stock Exchange Forum, the participants explored the financial opportunities and challenges facing the various Arab stock markets. According to economists, the Arab financial markets have witnessed, between 1994 and 2006, an unprecedented economic growth rate, with an estimated net worth of nearly $827 billion in 2006. In 2008, the estimated net worth of Arab markets declined to nearly $736 billion. The economists added that the Arab market will likely witness an economic boom over the next 5 years, which may help attract international investors to the region.
We are seeking to boost cooperation between the Union of Arab Stock Exchanges on one side and the Union of International Stock Exchanges on the other. We must employ the right economic tools to prevent a repeat of the global financial crisis. We expect the Mideast region to witness a promising economic trend over the next few years, filled with investment opportunities due to the availability of financial liquidity in the region.
Among the issues discussed in the Cairo Forum are the deployment of information technology infrastructure in the Arab financial markets, as well as combating the negative effects of outside stock trading.
The process of stock trading must be performed in a way that is smooth, quick, open, and transparent. Therefore, no trading should take place outside the stock market. The trading becomes very risky if it takes place outside the stock market and often leads to losses.
Lamia Wafi, Nile TV.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.